Unit 3, Relationships. Topic C, Edit Relationships. In the previous topic, we looked at the relationship view and we related customers to orders in such a way that one customer places many orders. And we said that the join line that joins these two tables is the line that specifies the nature of the relationship. If we double click on that line, we open up a dialog that talks about how the relationship works. So first of all, customers is usually on the left hand side because it is the primary entity in the relationship, and orders is typically on the right hand side because it is the related entity. It doesn't need to be that way, but as a convention, I suggest that you always put your primary entities on the left and your related entities on the right, so that when you read your relationship view, that the whole thing makes sense. Now, we can edit the relationship in various ways, but for now, in this topic, I simply want to show you that the first thing we can do is to edit the join types. And all I want to say here is that join type number 1 is the preferred one, and that join type number 2 and 3 are more specialized types of joins which I would not suggest that you try to use right now without understanding a little bit more about Cartesian joins and the specific type of relationship you want to create. All you want to know now is that that is a one-to-many relationship, and that the customer sits on the left and the order sits on the right, because that's the way by convention that we prefer to create these relationships. The next thing I want to show you is that the relationship type there at the bottom is one-to-many, and that is a test that your relationship that you've created is actually working correctly. If that relationship type turns out to be a many-to-many relationship or a one-to-one relationship, then typically it has no value, or it is of a very specialized type. So if you relate one table to another table and the relationship doesn't work, the relationship simply can't be created, or it becomes a many-to-many relationship, then typically for what we're trying to achieve in a typical business database, it's not going to have any value. There's a referential integrity enforced checkbox at the bottom here, which if I switch it off, changes the specific relationship in such a way that you'll see that the 1 and the infinity sign on the join line disappears, and that has a particular function. And to explain it very briefly, Access is very powerful in the sense that it wants to enforce the validity and the integrity of not only the data but the relationship between the data. So here's how it all could go wrong. Let's say, for instance, that you have a customer, whatever that might be, whoever that customer might be, and that customer has placed a number of orders which is captured, that customer has placed a number of orders which are captured in the orders table, and for whatever reason you go and delete the customer so that the customer is no longer an entity in the database. The problem is that in the orders table there would still be references to those customers, and all of the order records that are associated with that customer is now what we call orphan records, in the sense that in the hierarchy of the primary relationship to the related relationship, they don't have a primary relationship any longer. When that happens, the database becomes compromised, because it's now possible to count, for example, 400 orders, where there should actually be 300, because the one customer where we placed 100 orders with is no longer with us, and those orders should be marked as inactive. Now, in order to fix that, in order to prevent the relational nature of the database to be compromised, we enable a function called referential integrity checking. So if I select the join line, double click on it, and I enforce the referential integrity. Now when I click OK, you'll see that the join line now has the nature of the relationship, particularly as a one-to-many. And referential integrity enforced means, practically, that when I delete a customer in here, I must delete, or I must allow the database to delete all of the orders associated with it. In that way, preserving the referential integrity in the database and ensuring that there are no orphan records. Orphan records can be a huge problem in large databases, because from a reporting perspective, you might simply be miscounting particular entities and thereby creating a false view of what is actually happening in the database or in your organization. End of topic C.